Here we have some sample Markdown, and if you're not familiar with it, it's a way to quickly create HTML using symbols. So in this case, you would do ##, which would then be converted into an H2 tag wrapping this. If you wanted it to be an H4, you would simply do 4 of these. This is really common for blog writers, or if you're uploading something to GitHub, you'll be familiar with using Markdown. If not, don't worry, it's just the basic concept. We'll go over 3 items here in this lesson. 1, converting a heading tag. 2, converting a block quote. And 3, wrapping code. You'll notice with code, you indent 4 spaces and then add your code. So let's see how we could do this manually. Well, the first step would be look for the beginning of a string and look for 2 $. We will want to make sure that we have global and multi-line selected. Ignore case won't be necessary. And then we're going to look for anything until the end of the string. So I'll just simply say period and get everything until the end of the string. And now we want to wrap that within an H2 tag. So I'll make sure that I wrap this within parentheses so that I can access only the value that occurred after the $. And here's something we can do. If there is a space, we can add that in like so. Now we're going to replace that with 1, and we have that heading 2. So now we only need to wrap that within H2 tags, and now we've successfully converted that. Next, let's see how we could take care of this block quote. So I'm going to remove these, and now we want to look for the beginning of a string. Remember, make sure multi-line is turned on, otherwise it won't work. And we're going to look for an opening greater than sign. And then, once again, look for a space and anything until the end of the string. Then we will replace it with the block quote, and we'll make sure that we put that within p tags as well. If you need correct spacing, you can use things like new line. So you could say add a new line and then add a tab, and then the same thing here. Add a new line, and now you get much nicer formatting. Now another option is, what if their block quote goes on to the next line? So for example, I will copy this just enough times, and then they add a new line and they keep going. Now we are not matching the entire sequence. We're only matching what was on that string. So we could change this up here. Rather than saying look for 1 or more characters, we could say look for any character, 1 or more. But now I'm going to turn on .all. And when we turn on .all, it turns the period so that it will also match new line characters as well. So now you'll see that that will continue on. So once again, I'm going to wrap that within parentheses, and we're going to do this until we get to a new line. And I'll add that right here. So now you can see that we've selected everything until we get to a new line. If you'd like better formatting, once again, we can add a new line after this, like so. So now, the last thing is we need to wrap this bit in code. So let's do that now. We need to look for 4 spaces, so I'll do that right now. Look for 4 spaces anywhere. And now I want you to note that we are matching this and this. But watch what happens when we write changed. It looks like we're only matching 1 instance, because \s does not only refer to a space, it also refers to a space character. So that's going to be tabs, line breaks, and regular spaces. So if you want to refer to just a space, then you can use the literal form and type an actual space. Now, once we've matched that, we want to select everything until a new line. So we're going to do period, everything, until you get to a return. And I'll make that non-greedy. Now note that this does not seem to be working. And it will work, watch, because we are at the end of the string, it's not finding a return. So as soon as I add one, that will match, and then we could replace it with pre, and then let's just make sure that we wrap our code like so, and we are getting that done as we would hope. So we have to think about this though. There is a chance that it could occur at the end of our entire page. So in that case, we could say, look for this until you come to a return key or the end of a string. Notice I'm having to use a capturing group so that the alternation pipe does not extend too far. If you wanted to say we're not matching it, we could also use a non-capturing question mark and colon. And now we are successfully wrapping that as we would hope. So yeah, this is just scratching the surface of how you might approach creating your own Markdown service. In the next chapter, I'm going to show you some advanced tips and tricks when working with your regular expressions.